Have you ever caught yourself asking a question that you would never dare say out loud? Not while talking with friends, not during a workout, and certainly not in front of your partner. Maybe that question has stayed with you for years, quietly returning whenever you are alone. The question is simple, but it carries a lot of emotional weight. Am I actually normal? I'm Dr. Jocelyn, a board-certified urologist, and for more than 7 years, I've helped men understand their health with accurate information instead of fear. One concern comes up again and again, no matter a man's age, career, or background. It's a topic many think about, but very few are comfortable discussing openly. Today, we're going to talk honestly about penis size. Not through rumors, unrealistic expectations, or internet myths, but through real medical science and years of clinical experience. My goal is to help you separate facts from fiction, biology from fantasy, and confidence from unnecessary self-doubt. For millions of men, this isn't simply a question driven by curiosity. It's something that quietly affects confidence, relationships, intimacy, and even the way they see themselves every single day. Before we begin, I'd really like to know where you're watching from. Leave your country or city in the comments below, because I enjoy seeing people from all around the world joining these conversations. And if you appreciate honest, science-based health information, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Today's discussion could answer a question you've been carrying for a very long time. Let's begin with one of the most important facts you'll hear today. According to one of the largest international studies ever conducted on this subject, involving more than 15,000 men and published in the British Journal of Urology International, over 90% of men fall within the completely normal range for penis size. Think about that for a moment. More than 9 out of every 10 men are medically considered normal. Yet despite this reassuring fact, research continues to show that as many as 60% of men still feel unhappy or insecure about their size. So where does this gap come from? Why do so many perfectly healthy men believe something is wrong with them? For most people, the answer begins much earlier than they realize. Picture yourself at 13 or 14 years old. Like many teenagers, you may have come across adult content for the very first time. At that age, your brain is still learning what is normal, what is realistic, and what should be expected from the human body. But what you were seeing on the screen was never designed to represent reality. Those performers were not selected randomly. They were specifically chosen because they looked different from the average man. Camera angles were carefully planned. Professional lighting was used to create certain visual effects. Scenes were staged to exaggerate appearance. Sometimes digital editing was also involved to make everything look even more dramatic. However, a young mind doesn't recognize those production techniques. Instead, it quietly accepts them as a new standard. Without realizing it, comparison begins. Then life adds even more pressure. Locker room conversations, immature jokes, friends exaggerating stories, a complete lack of proper education about what is actually normal. Little by little, an average, healthy body starts to feel somehow inadequate, even though nothing is medically wrong. That's how insecurity slowly grows. What's even more interesting is what research tells us about women's opinions. When women are asked how important penis size really is in a relationship, only a small percentage, around 5 to 10%, say it is extremely important. That means the overwhelming majority place much greater value on other qualities. Trust, communication, kindness, emotional connection, confidence. These are the things that consistently matter far more than measurements. So where does the obsession with size actually come from? It doesn't come from medical science. It comes from comparison. It comes from myths that have been repeated for years. And perhaps most importantly, it comes from silence. In my own practice, I've watched this happen countless times. Men in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and even 70s sit across from me, carrying worries they've held onto for decades. Many believe they've been living with a serious problem. But after we review the medical evidence together, something remarkable happens. The anxiety begins to disappear. Their posture relaxes. The tension leaves their face. They stop judging themselves quite so harshly. And little by little, confidence returns because they finally understand the truth, instead of the myths they've believed for so many years. That's exactly what I want to help you experience today. In this video, I'll guide you step by step through the real science. We'll discuss the correct way to measure, the actual medical averages, and the biggest mistakes that cause unnecessary anxiety. By the end, my hope is that you won't just know a few numbers. You'll walk away with something much more valuable. You'll have clarity, you'll have perspective, and most importantly, you'll understand what truly deserves your attention when it comes to your health. Let's start by talking about the first major mistake many men make when it comes to penis size. And this mistake alone can completely change the way someone sees himself. The mistake is measuring incorrectly. It may sound simple, but many men are not measuring in the same way doctors measure during medical research. And when the method is wrong, the result can create unnecessary disappointment, confusion, and insecurity. A measurement that is inaccurate can make a completely normal man believe he has a problem when he does not. I've seen this happen many times. A man comes into my office convinced that his size is below average, but after taking a proper measurement using medical guidelines, he discovers that his body is actually within a completely normal range. The problem was never his body. The problem was the method he used to judge it. One of the most common mistakes is measuring from the skin instead of the pubic bone. The skin does not always represent the true starting point because every person's body composition is different. Some men naturally have more fat tissue around the pubic area, which can affect what is visible from the outside. If you measure only from the surface of the skin, you may underestimate or misinterpret your actual length. Another mistake is measuring from underneath rather than from the top side. This can create an inaccurate measurement because it does not follow the standard method used in scientific studies. Some men also measure when they are not fully erect or when their body is not in its normal condition. Temperature, stress, anxiety, and blood flow all influence the way the penis appears at a specific moment. For example, measuring in a cold room can produce a different result compared to measuring in a warm and relaxed environment. This is not because anything has changed permanently. It is simply because the body responds naturally to different situations. In medical research, one of the methods commonly used is called flaccid stretched length. This method has been shown to provide a reliable estimate of actual erect length. So how is it done correctly? First, stand upright in a relaxed position. Use a ruler or a soft measuring tape. Place it on the top side of the penis and begin at the pubic bone, not just the outer skin. Gently press through the soft tissue until you reach the bone. This does not mean pushing aggressively. It simply means following the correct starting point used by medical professionals. Then, while the penis is relaxed, gently stretch it to its natural maximum length. The key word here is gently. There should never be pain or force involved. Measure from the base at the pubic bone all the way to the tip. That measurement is known as the stretched length. For many men, this gives a much more accurate understanding of their actual size compared with random measurements taken without proper technique. When it comes to girth, the process is slightly different. You can use a soft measuring tape or even a piece of string. Wrap it around the thickest part of the shaft, mark where the ends meet, and then measure that distance. This gives you your circumference measurement. Why does proper measurement matter so much? Because accuracy removes unnecessary guessing. And when guessing is replaced with facts, fear often begins to disappear. Many men spend years comparing themselves to unrealistic examples without ever knowing their actual measurements. They judge themselves based on assumptions rather than science. The second major mistake is believing fantasy instead of medical evidence. Let's look at what the research actually shows. One of the largest studies on this subject analyzed almost 15,000 men from different countries around the world. The results gave us a much clearer picture of what is typical. The average erect penis length was approximately 13.2 centimeters, which is just slightly above 5 inches. The average erect circumference was around 11.5 centimeters, which is about 4.5 inches. But the most important information is not the exact average number. The most important point is the normal range. Research shows that approximately 90 to 95% of men fall somewhere between about 10 and 16 centimeters, or roughly 4 to 6.3 inches, when erect. If you are within that range, medical science considers you completely normal. You are not defective. You are not missing something. You are not somehow less of a man. You are simply a normal human being with normal biological variation. But unfortunately, many men compare themselves to unrealistic images found in movies, online content, and edited photographs. The problem is that these examples are not an accurate representation of the average male body. They are exceptions, selected specifically because they stand out. Comparing yourself to those examples is like judging your athletic ability by comparing yourself only to professional athletes. It creates an impossible standard. The third mistake is comparing yourself under completely different conditions. Most men don't realize just how sensitive the body is to its environment. The penis responds strongly to temperature, emotions, stress levels, and overall physical state. Cold temperatures can cause temporary shrinkage. Anxiety can reduce blood flow. Stress can affect arousal and physical response. Even a simple moment of nervousness can change what you see. Now compare that with someone in a professional studio environment. That person may have warm lighting, controlled conditions, professional preparation, maximum arousal, and sometimes digital enhancement. These are not equal situations. It is an unfair comparison from the beginning. Yet many men compare their everyday reality to a carefully created image designed for entertainment. And when they do that, their confidence is almost guaranteed to suffer. The truth is, your body was never meant to compete with a fantasy. It was meant to function, connect, and support a healthy, intimate life. And understanding that difference is one of the biggest steps toward rebuilding confidence. Now let's move on to the fourth mistake that many men make when thinking about penis size. And this one is especially important because it can lead some men toward decisions they may later regret. The mistake is chasing size instead of focusing on health. In today's world, there are countless advertisements, online promises, and misleading claims that suggest a bigger size is the solution to confidence, attraction, or better performance. Some men become so worried about their measurements that they start searching for quick fixes. They look into surgeries, injections, devices, and unproven treatments because they believe changing their size will finally remove their insecurity. But the medical evidence tells a different story. One important study from researchers at UCLA looked at men who were seeking enhancement procedures. The surprising finding was that the majority of these men were already within a normal size range. Their concern was not caused by a physical problem. It was often connected to perception, anxiety, and unrealistic expectations. This is something I want every man watching this to understand. Sometimes the body is not the problem. Sometimes the way we see the body is the real issue. Even more concerning is that enhancement procedures are not without risks. Any medical procedure carries potential complications. Some men experience scarring. Some experience changes in sensitivity. Others may deal with pain, dissatisfaction, or even permanent damage. And perhaps the most important point is this: changing size does not automatically create confidence. Confidence is not something that can simply be added with a procedure. It comes from understanding yourself, taking care of your health, and developing a healthier relationship with your own body. Another common misunderstanding is the belief that more size automatically means better sexual performance. But medically speaking, this is not how the body works. Sexual satisfaction is influenced by many factors: blood flow, hormones, emotional connection, communication, comfort, overall health. Size is only one small part of a much bigger picture. In fact, beyond a certain point, additional size may not provide any benefit and can sometimes create discomfort for a partner. The goal of intimacy is not a measurement competition. The goal is connection, trust, and mutual satisfaction. Now let's discuss the fifth mistake, which may actually be the most important one. Many men forget what truly matters. At the end of the day, you are not a number written on a ruler. You are not defined by centimeters or inches. Your value as a man is not determined by one physical measurement. What creates confidence and fulfillment is much deeper than that. It comes from how you carry yourself. It comes from your emotional presence. It comes from the way you communicate and connect with your partner. It comes from how well you take care of your body and your overall health. Many men spend years focusing on one measurement while ignoring the things that actually influence sexual function and confidence. For example, reducing excess belly fat can improve your overall health and may even improve visible length because abdominal fat can cover part of the base area. Improving cardiovascular health through regular exercise and a balanced diet can support better blood circulation. And good blood flow is one of the most important factors for healthy erectile function. Strengthening the pelvic floor muscles through exercises like Kegels can also help many men improve control and support sexual health. Another important area is hormones. For some men, especially as they age, checking hormone levels such as testosterone may provide useful information about overall health. But the focus should never be only on appearance. These improvements are not just about size. They are about becoming healthier, stronger, and more confident in every area of life. This is why I always encourage men to focus on what they can actually control: your lifestyle, your fitness, your nutrition, your stress levels, your relationships. These are the areas where real improvements happen. So if you are someone who has spent years worrying about size, I want you to start with a few simple steps. First, measure correctly. Stop relying on assumptions, memories, or comparisons. Use accurate information instead. Second, change your reference point. Understand that the average erect size is around 5 inches, not the unrealistic numbers you may have seen online. Third, focus on health instead of comparison. Improve your blood flow through movement and exercise. Support your hormones with proper nutrition, sleep, and medical guidance when necessary. Take care of your body because your body is what supports your confidence, your energy, and your quality of life. Fourth, ask yourself an honest question. Is your concern actually physical, or is it emotional? Are you dealing with a medical issue, or are you comparing yourself to an unrealistic standard created by media and misinformation? That question alone can change the way you view yourself. And finally, invest in connection. Because confidence, communication, and emotional presence are qualities that create meaningful intimacy. They cannot be measured with a ruler. They cannot be bought through expensive procedures. And they cannot be replaced by chasing unrealistic expectations. The truth is, many men spend years fighting a problem that never existed. They carry unnecessary doubt because they were never given the right information. They were influenced by myths instead of science. They compared themselves to exceptions instead of understanding what is normal. And today, I want you to leave this conversation with a completely different perspective. I want you to really understand this next point, because it is something I tell many of my patients when they come into my office feeling worried, embarrassed, or disappointed in themselves. You are not broken. You are not inadequate. And you are not defined by a measurement. The doubts that many men carry for years often did not come from their actual bodies. They came from unrealistic expectations, misinformation, media influence, and the simple fact that nobody taught them what normal really looks like. When people don't have accurate information, the mind naturally fills the empty spaces with fear. And when that fear is repeated for years, it can start to feel like the truth. But feeling something does not always mean it is a fact. Many men who believe they have a problem discover that their bodies are functioning normally. They simply never had the correct medical perspective. This is why education is so powerful. When you understand the science, you remove the unnecessary pressure you have placed on yourself. You stop comparing yourself to unrealistic examples. You stop judging your body based on false standards. And you begin focusing on the things that actually improve your quality of life. Your health, your confidence, your relationships, your overall well-being. Remember, your dignity was never stored in one measurement. Your confidence was never created by a number. Your ability to be a good partner was never determined by size alone. A fulfilling intimate relationship is built on much more important foundations. It is built on trust. It is built on communication. It is built on understanding your partner and feeling comfortable with yourself. These are the qualities that create a strong connection. And these are the areas where every man has the ability to improve. Now, I want to give you a simple mental exercise. Ask yourself this question: what is actually more valuable? Being slightly above average on a ruler, or having control over your health, your confidence, and your life? When you think about it honestly, the answer becomes clear. A measurement is just a measurement. But your health affects every single day you experience. Your energy, your mood, your relationships, your ability to enjoy life. That is where your attention should go. Many men spend years trying to change something that does not need to be changed, while ignoring habits that could truly transform their lives. Improving your physical health, maintaining a healthy weight, exercising regularly, sleeping properly, and managing stress can have a far greater impact than chasing an unrealistic physical ideal. Your body is a complete system. Every part works together. Your heart health affects blood circulation. Your circulation affects erectile function. Your hormones affect energy and desire. Your mental health affects confidence and connection. This is why the best approach is not focusing on one isolated feature. The best approach is improving the entire person. As a urologist, I have seen many men regain confidence, not because they changed their size, but because they changed their understanding. They learned to respect their bodies instead of constantly criticizing them. They started taking care of themselves instead of chasing impossible standards. And that shift in mindset often made the biggest difference. So if you have been silently carrying this concern for years, I want you to remember something important. You are not alone. Millions of men have had the same questions. Millions of men have experienced the same uncertainty. But the answer is not found in comparison. The answer is found in knowledge. The answer is found in self-care. And the answer is found in understanding what medical science actually says. The truth is that most men are completely normal. The truth is that the human body naturally comes in many different shapes and sizes. Variation is not a mistake. Variation is biology. There is no single measurement that defines masculinity, confidence, or worth. A healthy man is not the man who matches an unrealistic image created for entertainment. A healthy man is someone who understands his body, takes care of his health, and feels confident in who he is. So today, I want you to replace one thought with another. Instead of asking, "Am I enough?" start asking, "Am I taking care of myself?" Because that is the question that truly matters. Are you moving your body? Are you supporting your cardiovascular health? Are you eating in a way that gives your body the nutrients it needs? Are you managing stress? Are you maintaining meaningful relationships? These are the questions that have a real impact on your future. And these are the things that build lasting confidence. The goal is not perfection. The goal is progress. Small improvements made consistently can create powerful changes over time. A healthier lifestyle can improve your energy. It can improve your mood. It can support better physical function. And it can help you feel more comfortable and confident in your own body. So let go of the unrealistic standards that have been placed on you. Replace myths with facts. Replace comparison with self-improvement. And replace insecurity with knowledge. Because once you understand the truth, you realize something very important. The problem was never that you were not enough. The problem was that you were measuring yourself against the wrong standard. Now, before we finish this conversation, I want you to remember the most important message from everything we discussed today. Your confidence, your health, and your value as a man have never been determined by a number, not by a measurement, not by a comparison, and certainly not by unrealistic images created for entertainment. For too many years, many men have carried a burden they were never meant to carry. They have questioned themselves. They have compared themselves. They have allowed myths and misinformation to create doubts about their own bodies. But when we look at the science, the truth becomes much clearer. The overwhelming majority of men are completely normal. The body has natural differences, and those differences are part of human biology. There is no single standard that every man must meet. Just as people vary in height, weight, facial features, and body shape, there is also natural variation in this area of the body. That variation does not mean something is wrong. It simply means you are human. The most important thing you can do is stop judging yourself through unrealistic comparisons and start focusing on the things that actually improve your life. Your physical health, your emotional well-being, your confidence, your relationships. These are the areas that truly define your quality of life. If you take one message from this entire discussion, let it be this. Do not spend your life fighting against your own body. Learn to understand it. Learn to care for it. And learn to appreciate what it allows you to experience. If you have concerns about your health, your sexual function, or anything related to your body, the best step is always accurate information and a conversation with a qualified healthcare professional. There is no shame in asking questions. There is no shame in wanting to understand your body better. In fact, seeking knowledge is one of the strongest things you can do for yourself. Many men avoid these conversations because they feel embarrassed. They stay silent because they believe they are the only ones dealing with these thoughts. But the reality is completely different. These concerns are incredibly common, and talking about them openly in a medical and educational way can remove years of unnecessary stress. The goal is not to chase perfection. The goal is to build a healthier, more confident version of yourself. That means making choices every day that support your body. Move regularly. Eat nourishing foods. Maintain a healthy weight. Protect your heart and circulation. Pay attention to your hormones and overall wellness. Manage stress. Build meaningful connections. These are the habits that create real confidence. Because confidence does not come from being perfect. Confidence comes from knowing you are taking care of yourself. And remember something else. Sexual health is not separate from overall health. The same habits that support your heart, your energy, and your mental well-being also support your sexual function. Your body works as a whole system. When you improve one area, you often improve many others. This is why I encourage men not to focus only on appearance. Focus on becoming healthier from the inside out. A stronger body, a healthier mind, a more confident attitude. Those are the things that create long-term improvements. So if you have been silently worrying about this topic, I hope today's conversation gave you a different perspective. I hope you leave with less fear and more understanding. I hope you realize that many of the doubts you carried were never based on reality. They were based on comparisons that were never fair. They were based on expectations that were never realistic. And they were based on a lack of honest information. The truth is simple. You were never defined by your size. You were always defined by how you live, how you care for yourself, how you treat others, and how you choose to move through life. That is where true confidence comes from. Not from a measurement, not from trying to match someone else's body, but from respecting your own. So ask yourself one final question. Would you rather spend your life chasing an unrealistic number, or would you rather invest that energy into becoming healthier, stronger, and more confident? The answer is already inside you. Your health is your foundation. Your confidence is your responsibility, and your future is shaped by the choices you make today. If this video helped you understand this topic better, consider sharing it with someone who might need to hear this message. You never know who is silently struggling with the same questions and looking for honest answers. A simple conversation can sometimes change the way someone sees themselves. Thank you for spending this time with me. I'm Dr. Jocelyn. Stay informed, stay confident, and remember this: age does not mean the end of vitality. With the right knowledge, healthy habits, and proper care, you can continue improving your comfort, confidence, and quality of life for many years ahead.